The text message glowed on Jenna's phone like a neon sign in hell. Can't wait to feel you again tonight. My place at 11:00. Don't keep me waiting, beautiful. I stared at the screen, my coffee growing cold in my hand. 39 years old, and I was learning that my wife of 12 years had been screwing around behind my back. The sender wasn't listed by name, just work emergency. But the follow-up messages made it crystal clear this wasn't about quarterly reports. "Alex, you're up early," Jenna said, padding into the kitchen in her silk robe. She looked beautiful as always, blonde hair perfectly tousled, makeup somehow still flawless despite claiming she'd been asleep. Funny how I'd never noticed before that she looked too perfect for someone who'd supposedly spent the night in our bed. "Couldn't sleep," I said, setting her phone back on the counter where I'd found it. "Your phone was buzzing. Thought it might be important." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Her eyes flicked to the device, and I caught the microsecond of panic before she composed herself. "Oh, probably just Sarah from work. She's been having drama with her boyfriend again." Sarah, right? Sarah, who apparently had very intimate knowledge of Jenna's body and wanted to taste every inch of her tonight. Either Sarah had developed some interesting new hobbies or my wife thought I was a complete idiot. "Must be some serious boyfriend drama," I said, taking a sip of my coffee. "Sounds like Sarah really needs your personal attention." Jenna grabbed the phone and glanced at it, her face flushing slightly. "You know how she gets. I should probably call her back." She disappeared upstairs, and I heard the shower running 5 minutes later. I sat in our kitchen, our beautiful, perfectly decorated kitchen in our beautiful, perfectly maintained house, and felt something cold settle in my chest. Not anger exactly, more like the feeling I used to get in Afghanistan when I realized the intel was wrong and we were walking into an ambush. Time to do some reconnaissance. Jenna's laptop sat open on the dining room table where she'd left it the night before. She'd always been careless with passwords. Used the same one for everything. Our wedding anniversary. How romantic. It took me exactly 4 minutes to find the hidden folder buried 3 layers deep in her documents. Project Files Confidential contained no work projects whatsoever. Instead, I found 6 months of text exchanges, photos I never wanted to see, and a video that made my stomach turn. The man in the video was Clay Hartford, a real estate developer I'd met at a few of Jenna's company parties. Tall, tanned, expensive suit kind of guy who always looked at me like I was something he'd scraped off his shoe. In the video, he was doing things to my wife that we hadn't done in over a year. The texts were worse than the video, not just because of the explicit content, but because of what they revealed about how Jenna really saw me. "He's so clueless," she'd written. "Just sits in his little home office playing with his computers while I'm out actually living. Sometimes I wonder why I even bother coming home." Clay's response: "Don't worry about the loser. After my divorce is final, we can make this official. You deserve so much better than a boring IT guy. Boring IT guy. I'd spent 8 years in the Army, including 2 tours overseas, managing logistics for operations that kept people alive. Now I managed IT projects for a defense contractor, work that was both classified and critical. But to my wife and her lover, I was just some boring tech nerd who didn't deserve respect." The shower was still running upstairs. I copied everything to a secure drive and closed the laptop. By the time Jenna came down, dressed in her power suit and ready to conquer the advertising world, I was reading the news on my tablet like nothing had happened. "I'll be late tonight," she said, kissing my cheek with lips that had been on another man. "Big presentation tomorrow and the team wants to rehearse again." "Sure," I said. "I'll probably work late too. Got a project deadline coming up." She smiled. That same smile that had made me fall in love with her 13 years ago. You work too hard, Alex. You should get out more. Have some fun. Fun? Like she was having with Clay Hartford. After she left, I sat in the silence of our house and made a decision. I wasn't going to scream or throw things or confront her in some dramatic scene. I wasn't going to hire a divorce lawyer and fight over assets for the next 2 years. I was going to do what I did best, plan a strategic operation with clear objectives and flawless execution. First, I called my old Army buddy Tom, who now ran a private investigation business in Albany. Alex, how's married life treating you? That's actually why I'm calling. I need some professional help. Tom's voice shifted to business mode. What kind of help? The kind that involves a cheating spouse and a very detailed background check on her boyfriend. Ah, I'm sorry, man. How long have you known? About an hour? But I suspect it's been going on for months. You want me to get proof for the divorce? I want you to get me everything: financial records, business dealings, personal history, traffic tickets, parking violations, everything. And Tom, I need it fast. How fast? 48 hours. Tom whistled. That's going to cost extra. Money's not an issue. Send me the bill. After I hung up, I walked through our house, really looked at it for the first time in months. Everything was perfect. Everything was exactly what Jenna wanted. The furniture, the artwork, the color schemes, all her choices. I just paid for it and agreed with whatever made her happy. Well, she wanted to be happy with Clay Hartford. Time to give her exactly what she wanted. I opened my laptop and started making lists. In the Army, we called it operational planning. In civilian life, most people would probably call it revenge. I preferred to think of it as a strategic withdrawal with maximum psychological impact. My phone buzzed with a text from Jenna. Rehearsal running long. Don't wait up, I texted back. No problem, take all the time you need. She had no idea how much time she was going to need. The next morning, Jenna was gone before I woke up. She'd left a note on the kitchen counter. Early meeting, coffee's made. Love you. Love you? The words felt like a slap across the face. I had exactly 8 hours before she came home. Time to begin phase 1 of the operation. My first call was to our bank. Hi, this is Alex Denver. I need to discuss some changes to our joint accounts. Of course, Mr. Denver, what can I help you with? I want to split our joint checking and savings into separate accounts. 50-50 split. All legal and documented. That's certainly possible. Will Mrs. Denver be coming in to sign the paperwork? She's traveling for work, but I have power of attorney for financial matters, which was true. We'd set it up years ago when I was deployed. I'll need the new account set up by end of business today. I'll have our manager prepare everything. Can you come in this afternoon? Next. I called Allied Moving and Storage. I need a full-service move and I need it today. Today, sir, we usually require at least a week's notice, for I'll pay double your normal rate cash. Well, in that case, let me see what we can do. By noon, I had a crew of 6 movers packing up everything in our house that belonged to me. Clothes, books, electronics, tools, my father's antique desk, the leather chair I'd bought with my first civilian paycheck. Everything else, all of Jenna's perfect furniture and decorations, stayed exactly where it was. I also packed up our wedding photos, not because I wanted them, but because I knew she'd notice they were gone. The movers finished at 3:00 p.m. I walked through the house one last time, checking each room. It looked like a museum exhibit now, beautiful and cold and empty of any trace that I'd ever lived there. My phone rang as I was locking up. Tom, I've got some interesting information about your boy, Clay Hartford, he said. That was fast. You said 48 hours. I deliver in 24. First, the personal stuff. He's been married 3 times, divorced twice, currently separated from wife number 3. Each divorce involved allegations of infidelity. Shocking gets better. His real estate company is in financial trouble. He's been moving money between accounts, probably trying to hide assets from the current wife's divorce attorney. Nothing technically illegal, but definitely shady. What else? He's got a gambling problem. Owes money to some unpleasant people in Atlantic City. And here's the kicker. His business partner doesn't know about the gambling debts. I smiled for the first time in 24 hours. Tom, you're a beautiful man. There's more. I did some digging on your wife, too. Her company's been having problems. 3 major clients pulled out last quarter, and there are rumors about layoffs. She hasn't mentioned any of that. Probably trying to protect her image. You know how these corporate types are. Never admit weakness. After hanging up with Tom, I drove to the storage facility and checked on my belongings. Everything was secure in a climate-controlled unit. I'd rented it for a full year, paid in advance. Then I went home and waited. Jenna walked in at 7:30 earlier than usual. She called out as she came through the front door. "Alex, you here? In the kitchen?" I called back. She appeared in the doorway, still in her work clothes, looking tired. Her eyes swept the room, and I saw the moment she realized something was different. "Where's your coffee mug?" she asked. "The blue one you always leave on the counter." Washed it and put it away. She frowned, looking around more carefully. "And your laptop? You always leave it on the dining room table." Decided to be more organized, put it in the office. She walked into the living room, and I heard her sharp intake of breath. "Alex, where's your chair?" I joined her in the living room, hands in my pockets. "Which chair?" "Your leather chair. The ugly brown one you love so much. It was right there yesterday." "Oh, that I got rid of it. Got rid of it without talking to me. You always said it clashed with the decor." I finally listened. She stared at the empty space where my chair had been, her face pale. "What else did you get rid of?" "Just some clutter. You're always saying we have too much stuff." She ran upstairs, and I heard her moving around in our bedroom, opening drawers and closets. When she came back down, her face was white. "Alex, where are your clothes?" "I did some spring cleaning. Donated a bunch of stuff I never wear." "All of it? Your entire wardrobe?" "Not all of it. I kept what I need." She was starting to panic now. "The wedding photos are gone too." "Where are our wedding photos?" "Safe." "Safe where?" I looked at her. "Really?" Looked at her. Still beautiful. Still perfectly put together. Still lying to my face. "Jenna, we need to talk about what?" I pulled out my phone and opened her text messages, the ones I'd screenshotted before she deleted them. "About your rehearsals with Clay Hartford." The color drained from her face completely. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. "I can explain, I'm sure you can. You always were good with words. Alex, please. It's not what you think. It's not because what I think is that you've been sleeping with Clay Hartford for the past 6 months while lying to me about working late." She sank into her perfect white sofa, her hands shaking. "How did you find out? Does it matter? I never meant for this to happen. It just did." I sat across from her in the spot where my chair used to be. "How long?" 6 months, maybe 7. "And you love him?" She looked up at me with tears in her eyes. "I don't know. Maybe. Yes." I nodded. Okay, okay. Okay, I understand. You love him. You want to be with him. That's your choice." She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. "You're not angry. I'm disappointed. But anger is a waste of energy." "So what happens now?" I stood up and walked to the front door. "Now you get what you wanted. Freedom. Where are you going?" "Out." "Alex, wait. We should talk about this more. Figure out what we're going to do." I turned back to her. "What we're going to do is get divorced. My lawyer will contact you next week." "Your lawyer? When did you get a lawyer?" "This afternoon." I left her sitting in our perfect living room and drove to a hotel. I'd reserved a suite for the week, paid in advance. Tomorrow, phase 2 would begin. My phone started ringing as soon as I got to the hotel room. Jenna calling over and over, I let it go to voicemail. After the 10th call, I listened to the messages. Alex, please come home. We need to talk about this. Alex, I know you're angry, but running away isn't going to solve anything. Alex, this is ridiculous. Come home right now. Alex, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry, but you can't just disappear. The last message was different. Her voice was smaller, scared. Alex, I went to the bank. What did you do to our accounts? I smiled and deleted all the messages. Then I called the hotel's room service and ordered the most expensive steak on the menu. For the first time in months, I was actually hungry. I woke up the next morning feeling better than I had in years. No Jenna hogging the bathroom. No passive-aggressive comments about my breakfast choices. No fake kisses before she left to meet her lover. Just peace, quiet, and a plan. My phone showed 17 missed calls from Jenna and 3 from numbers I didn't recognize. Probably Clay trying to figure out what was happening to his perfect little arrangement. I ordered room service breakfast and called Tom. Phase 2 is a go. I told him, what do you need? Everything you found on Clay Hartford, I want it packaged and delivered to his business partner by noon today. The gambling debts and the hidden money, all of it. Make it look like an anonymous tip from a concerned investor. Done. What else? I need you to do some digging on Jenna's company. Find out exactly how bad their financial situation is. Already on it. I'll have a full report by tonight. After breakfast, I drove across town to Clay Hartford's gym. According to the information Tom had gathered, Clay worked out every morning from 10 to 11:30. Predictable schedule, predictable routine. In the Army, we called guys like Clay soft targets, all flash, no operational security. I'd been a member of this gym for 3 years, but rarely used it. Today, I was going to get my money's worth. Clay was exactly where Tom said he'd be. Bench pressing in front of the mirror, grunting loudly to make sure everyone noticed how much weight he was lifting. He had 2 spotters, both younger guys, who laughed at everything he said. I set up at the squat rack directly behind him and started my workout. Clay didn't notice me at first. He was too busy admiring himself and telling his spotters about some deal he was working on. The wife's lawyer thinks she's going to get half of everything he was saying between sets. But what she doesn't know is that half of nothing is still nothing. His spotters laughed like this was the funniest thing they'd ever heard. Besides, Clay continued, once this other situation resolves itself, I'll be in a much better position. Trading up, if you know what I mean. More laughter. I increased the weight on my bar and kept lifting. 20 minutes later, Clay finally noticed me. His face went through several expressions. Confusion, recognition, then something that might have been guilt if he were capable of feeling it. Alex Denver, right? Jenna's husband. I finished my set and turned around. Clay, how's business? Good. Real estate's always challenging, but I can't complain. That's funny. I heard you were having some problems. His smile faltered slightly. Problems? No, everything's great. Who told you I was having problems? Just rumors. You know how people talk. One of his spotters whispered something to the other, and they both moved away, suddenly finding other equipment to use. Clay's jaw tightened. What kind of rumors? I shrugged and started loading more weight onto my bar. Money troubles, gambling debts, angry business partners, probably just gossip. I don't have gambling debts. Of course not. Like I said, just rumors. Clay stepped closer, trying to use his height advantage to intimidate me. Look, Alex, I don't know what you think you know. But I don't think anything, I interrupted. I know my wife has been sleeping with you for the past 6 months. I know you've been telling her I'm a boring loser who doesn't deserve her. And I know you promised her you'd leave your wife after the divorce is final. Clay's face went white, then red. She told you she didn't have to. Look, man, I'm sorry. It just happened. These things, they just happen sometimes. No, they don't just happen. People make choices. You chose to sleep with my wife. She chose to lie to me for 6 months. Those were deliberate decisions. Clay glanced around the gym, noticing that other people were starting to pay attention to our conversation. Maybe we should discuss this somewhere private. Why? Ashamed of something. I'm not ashamed of anything. I love Jenna. Love? That's interesting. Is that why you've been hiding money from your current wife? Because you love Jenna so much you're willing to commit fraud? Clay's face went completely white. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you don't. Just like you don't know about the gambling debts or the money you owe in Atlantic City. You're crazy. I finished loading my bar and stepped under it. Maybe, but I'm not the one whose business partner is about to find out where all the company money really went. Clay grabbed my arm as I started to lift. What did you do? I looked down at his hand on my arm, then back at his face. I'd suggest you let go. He held on for another second, then released me. What did you do, Alex? Nothing illegal. I just shared some information with people who might find it interesting. My phone buzzed with a text. I checked it and smiled. Speaking of which, you might want to check your messages. I think your partner's been trying to reach you. Clay fumbled for his phone, his hands shaking. His face went from white to gray as he read whatever was on his screen. You bastard. Careful, Clay, we're in public. He looked around the gym again, realizing that at least a dozen people were watching us now. This isn't over. You're right. It's not. I finished my workout while Clay made frantic phone calls in the parking lot. By the time I left, he was gone, but I could see him through the window of the coffee shop next door arguing with a man in an expensive suit who looked very unhappy. My phone rang as I drove back to the hotel. Jenna? Alex? What did you do to Clay? Good morning, Jenna. How are you today? Don't play games with me. Clay's business partner is accusing him of embezzlement. His lawyer says someone sent them financial records. That sounds serious. Alex, if you did something illegal, I didn't do anything illegal. I don't break the law, Jenna, unlike some people. What's that supposed to mean? It means your boyfriend has been moving money around to hide it from his wife's divorce attorney. That's called fraud. You're lying. Am I? Ask him. There was silence on the other end of the line. Alex, please, can we meet somewhere and talk? Just the two of us. Why? Because we were married for 12 years. Because we loved each other once. Because this isn't how I wanted things to end. How did you want them to end? I don't know, but not like this. I thought about it for a moment. Okay, meet me at Murphy's Bar at 7 tonight. Murphy's? That dive bar downtown? It's not a dive bar, it's a working class bar. There's a difference. Fine. 7. And Jenna, come alone. I hung up and called Tom. How's our boy Clay doing? His business partner froze all the company accounts and called an emergency board meeting. Clay's been trying to reach his lawyer all morning, but apparently the lawyer's not taking his calls. Probably doesn't want to be associated with a fraud case. Gets better. His wife's divorce attorney got wind of the financial irregularities and filed an emergency motion to freeze his personal assets. So he's broke. Broker than broke and scared. My source at the police department says they're expecting him to be arrested by the end of the week. Perfect. What about Jenna's company? Worse than I thought. They're planning to lay off 30% of their workforce next month. Jenna's department is being eliminated entirely. I felt a moment of something that might have been sympathy. Then I remembered the video on her laptop and the texts calling me a boring loser. When will the layoffs be announced? Monday morning. Interesting timing. Anything else? Yeah, I did some more digging on Clay's background. Turns out he's got a history of targeting married women whose husbands make good money. This isn't his first rodeo. That killed any remaining sympathy I might have felt for Jenna. She hadn't just cheated on me. She'd been played by a professional con man who specialized in breaking up marriages. Tom, you're worth every penny I'm paying you. Just getting started, my friend. What's next? Tonight I'm meeting with Jenna. Tomorrow we finish this. Murphy's Bar was exactly the kind of place Jenna hated. Dim lighting, worn wooden floors, and a clientele that included actual working people instead of advertising executives and real estate developers. I arrived 15 minutes early and claimed a booth in the back corner where we could have some privacy. Jenna showed up at exactly 7 wall, looking out of place in her designer dress and heels. She spotted me and walked over, her face a mask of controlled emotion. "You look tired," I said as she sat down. "I haven't been sleeping well. Guilty conscience." "Don't, Alex, please." The waitress came over and I ordered a beer. Jenna asked for white wine, then changed her mind and ordered vodka. "Straight. That bad?" I asked. "Clay's been arrested. I heard fraud charges. Among other things, his business partner found out about the gambling debts and the hidden accounts. They're saying he stole over 200,000, did he? I don't know. Maybe. Probably." She took a large sip of her vodka. "His lawyer says he might go to prison. That's unfortunate." She stared at me across the table. "You did this." "I didn't steal any money, Jenna. I didn't gamble it away in Atlantic City. I didn't hide assets from divorce attorneys. Clay did all of that himself, but you exposed him. I shared information. There's a difference. Information you obtained illegally. Actually, no. Everything I shared came from public records and legitimate sources. Clay's business partner had every right to know where the company money was going." Jenna finished her vodka and signaled for another. "So what now? You've destroyed Clay's life. Are you satisfied? This isn't about Clay. This is about you. What about me? You lied to me for 6 months. You made me feel like I was going crazy, questioning my own perceptions. You called me boring and clueless behind my back while I was working to pay for your perfect lifestyle. I never said you were boring." I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshots of her texts. Quote, "He's so clueless. Just sits in his little home office playing with his computers while I'm out actually living." Her face crumpled. "Alex, I'm sorry. I was angry and confused, and I said things I didn't mean." "Which part didn't you mean? The part where you called me clueless, or the part where you agreed that I didn't deserve you?" "All of it. I didn't mean any of it, but you meant it when you were saying it, and you meant it when you were in bed with Clay Hartford." She started crying then. Real tears. Not the manipulative kind she used to get out of arguments. "I know I hurt you. I know I destroyed our marriage. But did you have to destroy everything else too? What else did I destroy?" "My job, for starters." I raised an eyebrow. "What about your job? Don't pretend you don't know. The layoffs were announced this morning. My entire department is being eliminated. I'm sorry to hear that." "Are you? Or did you have something to do with that too, Jenna?" "I'm an IT project manager for a defense contractor. I don't have any influence over your advertising company's business decisions, but you knew, didn't you? Somehow you knew this was coming." I didn't answer, which was answer enough. How I make it my business to know things that might affect my family's financial situation. We're not family anymore. No, we're not. She ordered a third vodka. I was starting to worry about her driving home. But then I remembered that wasn't my problem anymore. "So what's your end game here, Alex? You've destroyed my relationship, my job, my financial security. What else do you want?" "I want you to understand something." "What?" "Actions have consequences. For 6 months, you acted like your choices didn't affect anyone but yourself. You convinced yourself that what I didn't know wouldn't hurt me. But every choice you made, every lie you told, every night you spent with Clay, those choices had consequences. And you're the consequences. I'm the reckoning. She laughed bitterly. The reckoning? Who do you think you are? Some kind of avenging angel? I think I'm a man who got tired of being treated like a fool. So you decided to destroy my entire life? I decided to stop enabling your lies. My phone buzzed with a text message. I glanced at it and smiled. What? Jenna asked. Clay's wife just filed for divorce. She's asking for everything, the house, the cars, the business assets, alimony, punitive damages for fraud. Jenna's face went white. How do you know that? I have good sources. You're having us watched. I'm staying informed. She finished her third vodka and stood up unsteadily. I can't do this anymore. I can't sit here and listen to you gloat about ruining my life. I didn't ruin your life, Jenna. I just stopped pretending your choices didn't matter. Same thing. No, it's not. She started to walk away, then turned back. You know what the really sad part is? I actually thought about ending it with Clay. A few weeks ago, I was going to break it off and try to work things out with you. What changed your mind? You did. You were so oblivious, so completely clueless about what was happening in your own marriage. I realized you didn't really know me at all. You were in love with some fantasy version of me that never really existed. Maybe you're right. I am right. The woman you married, the woman you thought you knew, she was never real. I've been pretending to be her for 12 years and I got tired of pretending. So you decided to be someone else instead. I decided to be myself. And this is who you really are. A liar and a cheater. This is who I've always been, Alex. You just never bothered to look close enough to see it. She walked away, leaving me alone in the booth with 2 empty beer bottles and the wreckage of everything I'd thought I knew about my marriage. My phone rang. Tom, how did the meeting go? About as expected. You okay? I'm fine. What's the status on our other project? Clay's been released on bail, but his passport's been confiscated. His wife changed the locks on their house and had his car repossessed. He's staying at a motel out by the highway. Which motel? The Starlight Inn. Room 247. Why? Just curious. Alex, whatever you're thinking, don't. You've already won. Clay's going to prison, Jenna's lost her job, and their relationship is over. Don't do something stupid that could blow back on you. I'm not going to do anything stupid. Promise me. I promise I won't do anything illegal. Tom was quiet for a moment. That's not the same thing. No, it's not. I hung up and paid the tab. Outside, I sat in my car for a few minutes thinking about what Jenna had said. Maybe she was right. Maybe I had been in love with a fantasy version of her. But if that was true, then she had been deliberately deceiving me for 12 years, not just 6 months. Either way, we were done, but I wasn't quite finished yet. The next morning, I drove out to the Starlight Inn. It was exactly the kind of place you'd expect a broke, disgraced real estate developer to end up. Peeling paint, broken neon sign, and a parking lot full of potholes. Clay's BMW was parked outside room 247, looking as out of place as its owner probably felt. I parked 3 spaces away and waited. At 9:30, Clay emerged from his room looking like he'd aged 10 years in the past week. His usually perfect hair was disheveled, his expensive clothes wrinkled, and he needed a shave. He looked around nervously before getting into his car. I followed him at a distance as he drove into town. He stopped at a diner on the outskirts of downtown, the kind of place that served coffee in thick white mugs and had a waitress named Dolores who called everyone Han. I waited 5 minutes, then went inside. Clay was sitting in a corner booth staring at a cup of coffee and a plate of untouched eggs. I walked over and sat down across from him. He looked up and I saw something I'd never seen in Clay Hartford's eyes before. Fear. What do you want? He asked. To talk. We have nothing to talk about. I think we do. The waitress came over and I ordered coffee. Clay waited until she was gone before speaking again. Look, Alex, I know you're angry. I'm not angry anymore. Then what do you want? I want you to understand something. What happened to you wasn't random. It wasn't bad luck or poor timing. It was consequences. Consequences for what? For thinking you could take whatever you wanted without paying the price. Clay leaned back in his booth, some of his old arrogance returning. You think you're pretty smart, don't you? Smart enough to destroy my business and my marriage. I didn't destroy anything. I just made sure the right people had the right information at the right time. You ruined my life. No, Clay, you ruined your life. I just made sure everyone could see what you'd done. He laughed bitterly. You self-righteous bastard. You think you're so much better than me. I think I'm honest. There's a difference. Honest. You've been stalking me for weeks. You've been digging through my personal business, manipulating people, destroying relationships. How is that honest? Because I never lied to anyone. I never pretended to be something I wasn't. I never made promises I couldn't keep. You never took any risks either. You never put yourself out there, never tried to grab something better. You just sat in your little house with your little job and your little life, and you were perfectly content to be mediocre. Maybe, but I never hurt anyone else to get what I wanted. Everyone hurts someone, Alex. The only difference between us is that I'm honest about it. Are you? Because from where I'm sitting, you look like a man who spent his whole life lying to everyone, including himself. Clay's face flushed red. You don't know anything about me. I know you've been married 3 times and cheated on all 3 wives. I know you've been running cons on married women for years, targeting the ones whose husbands have money. I know you gambled away your company's assets and tried to hide it from your business partner. How do you know all that? I told you I make it my business to know things. Clay stared at me across the table and I could see him trying to figure out his next move. Finally, he leaned forward. What do you want from me? I want you to leave town. What? Leave town today. Don't come back. I can't leave town. I'm out on bail. The court. The court said you couldn't leave the state. There are plenty of places you can go within state boundaries. Why would I do that? Because if you don't, I'll make sure everyone in this town knows exactly what kind of man you really are. They already know. It's been in the newspapers. The newspapers covered your business problems. They didn't cover your personal history, the 3 wives, the gambling, the pattern of targeting married women. They didn't cover the fact that you're not just a criminal, you're a predator. Clay's face went white. You can't prove any of that. I don't have to prove it. I just have to share what I know with the right people. Your neighbors, your remaining clients, the parents at your daughter's school. You leave my daughter out of this, then leave town. We stared at each other across the table for a long moment. Finally, Clay nodded. Fine, I'll go today. Today? I stood up and threw a $5 bill on the table for my coffee. Clay, what? If I ever see you near my wife again, ex-wife, or if I hear that you've contacted her in any way, our next conversation won't be in a public place. I left him sitting in the diner and drove back into town. I had one more stop to make. Jenna's office was in a gleaming downtown high-rise that looked like every other corporate building in every other mid-sized American city. I'd been there dozens of times for company parties and holiday events, always feeling slightly out of place among the advertising executives and marketing directors. The security guard in the lobby recognized me. Hey, Mr. Denver here to see Jenna if she's available. I think she's cleaning out her office. Elevator Bank B, 14th floor. I found Jenna in her corner office packing personal items into cardboard boxes. She looked up when I knocked on the open door. Alex, what are you doing here? I wanted to see how you were doing. She gestured at the boxes. As you can see, I'm doing great. I'm sorry about your job. Are you really? Yes, I never wanted you to lose your job, but you knew it was going to happen. I suspected your company's been struggling for months. She taped up one of the boxes and started filling another. So what now? You came here to gloat? I came here to say goodbye. Goodbye? I'm leaving town. I got a job offer in Seattle. Better pay, better opportunities. She stopped packing and looked at me. When? I start Monday. That's 3 days from now. I know you planned this whole thing, didn't you? The timing, the job offer, everything. I planned some of it. And Clay, what happens to him? Clay's leaving town too. Did you threaten him? I gave him some advice about his future prospects in this area. Jenna sat down in her desk chair and looked around her empty office. So that's it. You destroy both our lives and then disappear. I didn't destroy your life, Jenna. I just stopped enabling your lies. Same thing. No, it's not. She was quiet for a moment, then looked up at me. Do you hate me? No. Do you still love me? I thought about it. I love the woman I thought you were, but that woman never existed. She did exist. She just wasn't the whole story. No, she wasn't. Jenna started crying again, but this time it was different. Quieter, sadder, more real. I'm sorry, Alex, for all of it. I'm sorry I lied to you. I'm sorry I cheated on you. And I'm sorry I made you feel like you weren't enough. You deserved better. Yes, I did. Will you ever forgive me? Someday, but not today. I walked to the door, then turned back. Jenna, yeah, for what it's worth, I hope you figure out who you really want to be. And I hope she's better than the person you've been pretending to be. I left her there in her empty office, surrounded by boxes full of the remnants of her corporate life. In the elevator going down, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. My phone buzzed with a text from Tom. Clay checked out of the motel an hour ago. Looks like he's heading north, I texted back. Good. Let me know if he comes back. Will do. You okay? I'm fine. Better than fine. What's next? Seattle. New job, new life, new everything. Sounds good. You deserve it. He was right. I did deserve it. I deserved honesty, loyalty, and respect. I deserved a partner who saw me as more than just a boring IT guy with a steady paycheck. I deserved someone who wouldn't lie to my face for 6 months while sleeping with another man. Most of all, I deserved to be happy. 3 days later, I was loading the last of my belongings into a rented truck when Mrs. Kresge, our elderly neighbor, came over with a plate of cookies. I heard you're leaving us, she said. Yes, ma'am. New job in Seattle. And Jenna. Jenna's staying here. We're getting divorced. Mrs. Kresge nodded knowingly. I figured as much. I saw that fancy car in your driveway a few times when you weren't home. Same car that belonged to that Hartford fellow who got arrested. You're very observant, Mrs. Creasy. When you're my age, dear, there's not much else to do but observe. I hope you'll be happy in Seattle. I think I will be. She handed me the cookies and patted my arm. You're a good man, Alex Denver. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. After she left, I finished loading the truck and did one final walkthrough of the house. It looked exactly the same as it had the day I'd moved out. Beautiful, perfect, and cold. Jenna had already moved back in, but there was no sign of her presence. No coffee cup in the sink, no shoes by the front door. No indication that anyone actually lived there. I left the keys on the kitchen counter along with a note. House is yours. Mortgage payments are current through the end of the month. After that, it's your responsibility. My phone rang as I was getting into the truck. Jenna. Alex, I found your note. You can't just leave me with the mortgage. I don't have a job. You'll figure it out. I can't afford the payments on my own. Then sell the house. It's not that simple. The market is terrible right now, and we still owe more than it's worth. That sounds like a problem you'll need to solve. Alex, please. I know I hurt you, but don't do this. Don't leave me with nothing. You're not left with nothing. You have the house, half of our savings, and your freedom. That's more than some people get. I don't have any income. You'll find another job. In this economy, with my reputation, Alex, everyone in town knows about the affair. No one's going to hire me. I felt a moment of something that might have been sympathy. Then I remembered finding those text messages on her phone and the feeling passed. You should have thought about that before you decided to sleep with Clay Hartford. I made a mistake. People make mistakes. You made a choice. You made dozens of choices every day for 6 months. You chose to lie to me. You chose to meet him at hotels. You chose to mock me behind my back. Those weren't mistakes, Jenna. They were decisions. So this is my punishment. You get to start over in Seattle while I lose everything. This isn't punishment. This is consequences. What's the difference? Punishment is something someone does to you. Consequences are what happen because of what you do. There was silence on the other end of the line. Finally, Jenna spoke again, her voice small and defeated. I loved you, Alex. I know you don't believe that now, but I did love you. Maybe you did, but you loved yourself more. And you? Did you ever really love me? I thought about it for a moment. I loved who I thought you were. I loved the woman who laughed at my jokes and supported my dreams and made me feel like I was the most important person in her world. But that woman was just a character you were playing. She wasn't just a character. She was part of me, maybe, but she wasn't enough of you to matter. I hung up and started the truck. In the rearview mirror, I could see our house, Jenna's house, now getting smaller and smaller until it disappeared entirely. The drive to Seattle took 3 days. I stopped at cheap motel and ate at truck stop diners. And for the first time in years, I felt free. No schedule to maintain, no image to project, no lies to pretend I believed. Just the open road and the promise of something better ahead. My new apartment was small but comfortable, with a view of the Sound and enough space for the belongings I'd salvaged from my old life. The job was everything the recruiter had promised. Challenging work, good pay, and colleagues who respected my experience and expertise. I'd been in Seattle for 2 weeks when Tom called with an update. Clay Hartford pleaded guilty to fraud and embezzlement charges. He got 3 years in state prison. What about his wife's divorce? She got everything. The house, the cars, what was left of his business assets. He'll be broke when he gets out. And Jenna, she's working as a waitress at that diner downtown, the one where you met with Clay. How is she doing? Not great. She had to sell the house, took a huge loss on it. She's living in a 1-bedroom apartment across town. I felt that flicker of sympathy again, but it was fainter this time. Anyone else would say I should feel bad for her. Anyone else didn't have to live with her lies for 6 months, true? You doing okay out there? Better than okay. I'm happy, Tom. For the first time in years, I'm actually happy. Good for you, man. You deserve it. After we hung up, I walked out onto my balcony and looked out at the water. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. That would have made Jenna reach for her phone to take a picture for Instagram. But Jenna wasn't here, and I didn't miss her need to document every moment instead of just living it. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I know what you did to Clay and Jenna. You think you're so smart, but you're not. I'm going to make you pay for what you did. I stared at the message for a moment, then deleted it. Probably one of Clay's friends, or maybe someone from Jenna's work who blamed me for the company's problems. It didn't matter. They were part of my old life. And my old life was 3,000 mi away. I went inside and made dinner, a simple meal that I ate while reading a book I'd been wanting to read for months. No conversation, no drama, no hidden agendas, just peace, quiet, and the satisfaction of a day well spent. Later that evening, I got another call from Tom. Alex, I think you should know Jenna's been asking around about you, trying to find out where you went, what you're doing. Let her ask. She hired a private investigator. She hired you? No, someone else. But word gets around in this business. What does she want? I don't know. Maybe she's planning to follow you to Seattle. Let her try. I'm not hiding. You sure you're okay with this? Tom, I spent 12 years of my life trying to make Jenna happy. I'm not going to spend another minute worrying about what she might do. Fair enough. Besides, what's the worst that could happen? She shows up in Seattle and tries to win me back. She apologizes and promises to change. She threatens to expose my terrible crime of telling the truth about her boyfriend's embezzlement. When you put it that way. Exactly. I'm not afraid of Jenna anymore. I'm not afraid of Clay or their friends or anyone else from that life. They can't hurt me because I don't care what they think. That's a good place to be. It's the only place to be. A month later, I was having dinner at a restaurant near my office when I saw a familiar face across the room. Jenna sitting alone at a table by the window, looking older and thinner than I remembered. She saw me at the same moment I saw her. Our eyes met across the crowded restaurant, and for a second I felt like I was looking at a ghost from another life. She stood up and walked over to my table. Hello, Alex. Jenna, what are you doing in Seattle? I came to see you. Why? Because I needed to apologize, really apologize, not just say the words. You flew 3,000 me to apologize. I flew 3,000 me to try to understand what I did to us, to our marriage, to you. I gestured to the empty chair across from me. Sit. She sat down and I got a better look at her. She was definitely thinner, and there were lines around her eyes that hadn't been there before. She looked tired in a way that went deeper than just lack of sleep. You look different, she said. How so? Happier, relaxed, like you're finally comfortable in your own skin. I am. I'm glad. I mean that. The waitress came over and Jenna ordered coffee. We sat in silence until it arrived. I lost everything, she said finally. I heard the house, the job, most of our friends. Clay's in prison and I'm working at a diner for minimum wage plus tips. I'm sorry. Are you? Yes. I never wanted you to suffer. I just wanted you to face the consequences of your choices. Mission accomplished. Jenna, why are you really here? She took a sip of her coffee and looked out the window at the Seattle skyline. I've had a lot of time to think over the past few months about us, about what went wrong, about the choices I made. And I realized something. You were right about everything. I was lying to myself as much as I was lying to you. I convinced myself that I deserved more than what we had, that I was entitled to excitement and passion and romance. Maybe you were. No, I wasn't. What I was entitled to was honesty and respect and loyalty. The same things you were entitled to. But I threw all of that away for a fantasy. Clay was never going to leave his wife for you. I know that now. I think I knew it then too, but I didn't want to admit it. It was easier to believe his lies than to face the truth about what I was doing, which was destroying the best thing in my life because I was too selfish and stupid to appreciate what I had. I studied her face, looking for signs of manipulation or deception. But all I saw was genuine regret and exhaustion. What do you want from me, Jenna? Nothing. I don't want you to take me back. I don't want you to forgive me. I don't want you to feel sorry for me. I just wanted you to know that I understand now. I understand what I lost, and I understand that it was my fault, okay? And I wanted you to know that you were a good husband. You were kind and patient and generous, and I took all of that for granted. You deserved so much better than what I gave you. Thank you. I also wanted you to know that I'm getting help. Therapy. I'm trying to figure out why I made the choices I made, why I was so willing to hurt the person who loved me most. That's good. It's hard looking at yourself honestly. Admitting that you're not the person you thought you were, but necessary. Yes. We sat in silence for a few more minutes. Finally, Jenna stood up. I should go. I just wanted to say all of that in person, Jenna. Yes, I hope you find what you're looking for. What am I looking for? Peace, happiness, a way to be the person you want to be instead of the person you think you should be. She smiled sadly. I hope so too. She left money on the table for her coffee and walked away. I watched her through the window as she got into a taxi and disappeared into the Seattle traffic. I finished my dinner and walked home through the city streets thinking about the conversation. I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no regret. Just a sense of completion, like a chapter that had finally been closed. My phone rang as I was getting ready for bed. Tom, how did it go? How did you know she found me? I may have helped her track you down. Tom. She asked me to help her find you so she could apologize. She said she needed to make amends for what she'd done. I figured you were strong enough to handle it. I am. And nothing. She apologized. I accepted it. And now it's over. Really over? Really over? Good. You sound good, Alex. You sound like yourself again. I feel like myself. Maybe for the first time in years, that's what matters. After we hung up, I stood on my balcony and looked out at the lights of the city. Somewhere out there, Jenna was probably in a hotel room getting ready to fly back to her new life. Somewhere else, Clay Hartford was sitting in a prison cell paying for his crimes. And here I was in my new apartment in my new city, finally free of both of them. I had won, not because I had destroyed their lives, but because I had reclaimed my own. I had stopped being the victim of their choices and started being the author of mine. The game was over, the board was clear, and I was exactly where I wanted to be.